Listen, if eating top ramen for breakfast is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Being right is overrated, Sarah. My new thing is dark chocolate covered almonds that are like 28 bucks a pound. What the heck? If the earth explodes, I'll go out like a queen.
Walking my cat on his harness is my new favorite thing, and I'm not sure how life got this weird, but here we are.
Here we are indeed. That feeling when you're trying to run a business in a place where people just want to surf, smoke weed, and chill, man.
Have such a good day. Hello, world. Welcome to Have Such a Good Day, the show that wants you to do just that.
Welcome to the show that talks about adult life and its weird and happy moments, the
Adult
cruel
life.
ironies.
It sounds like some sort of a diaper commercial. Yeah. Hey, we're all having adult lives.
We are, and eventually we'll need diapers. So
Oh God.
let's table that. But we try to laugh so we don't cry on the show. We talk about all the things, what's going on in our lives,
All the things, yeah. Nothing's off the table on this show. For better or worse, we're just laying it all out there, everybody.
Speaking of laying it all out there, Sarah, I had this dream this morning because, we're recording in the morning and we usually don't. We usually record in the afternoon. But I had this dream that I was writing scripts like for the show in a car. And there were like tons of other people packed in a car. Like it was like a clown car. And I was just like elbowing people and I was like writing them out on a piece of paper. And I kept losing my train of thought. And it was just, I was like sweaty and I was like, I was trying to hurry. I knew I was like, had to hustle to get these scripts done. And then I woke up and I hadn't written any scripts. And
It was
there
just
it is.
it was all a dream.
It was all a dream.
It was all a dream. My mom, she was very enthusiastic to tell me that she had a dream that my dog Otis had opposable thumbs and could use a smartphone. And that she like gave him her phone and he was like, really good at
Typing
it.
away.
Yeah, just, I don't know, hanging out on Instagram, whatever a dog does. But I was like, okay, Mom. And she was like, no, but it was really real.
You're like, I bet it was really real for you, but
Yeah,
like not that
'cause
exciting for me.
It was a dream. Yeah, it was a dream.
So Sarah, yesterday was the craziest, wackiest weather. It like hailed. It's like
It was
May
weird here too.
And it's been like 8 months of cold weather. I mean, I am so tired of my North Face jacket. I'm just like, I just want to store it away. It's been probably almost 8 months of just cold weather. Yesterday, I knew it was going to storm. We had like a little lightning and thunder at night, but it was pretty mild. And it rained really heavy. There was times, it felt like I was on an island and it was a monsoon and it would come and go and it would hail like out of the blue. And it wasn't even... I remember like the night before we took a walk and it was kind of balmy. And then the next day it's like really, it has to be pretty cold to hail. It was very bizarre. And the ocean changed color like a dozen times. I felt like it was always changing, like the whole thing. And it really did remind me of like the times that I've been on a tropical island where these storms would just come and go. And it wasn't just this like constant gray, downpour with like just cloud cover. It was just this dynamic weather system coming through. It was pretty cool, actually. I did enjoy it.
It was the weather was weird here yesterday as well. It was sunny and then, it kind of got cloudy and then all of a sudden it was raining. I was inside. I mean, it didn't bother me at all, but I was like, whoa, it's raining. It rained hard, but only for a few minutes. And then it kind of cleared up, but that it was really windy, really windy. And because we have so many large trees around here, and there have been trees that have fallen and, done some damage to the property, that when it's windy like that, I don't want to be outside. I don't want my dog to be outside. I don't, at any moment, like a branch might fall and kill you. Not even kidding.
It happens. I don't know what the statistics are on that, but it does happen.
I don't either. Not offhand.
Not offhand.
Yeah. But yeah, and I had to do some stuff, I had to be out and about and, doing errands and everything. And so I was sort of like, I kept waiting, like, is this wind gonna die down? I don't like driving in this weather. But all is well. I survived.
You did. We both did. We survived a big holiday weekend.
We
Once
did.
again,
Yeah, another
we are
holiday
alive.
weekend. Another
Proof
holiday
of
weekend.
life.
We just it's like this is our proof of life photo, everybody.
Yeah.
We're still with you.
Really, that's what the show's all about, is just to prove that we're still alive every week, despite
Right.
everything.
Yeah, if you were concerned, we're still here. So, speaking of holiday weekends, it was Mother's Day over this last weekend, and I'm not sure if Mother's Day is celebrated with all our audience, depending on where you live, as much as it is in the U.S. But it's definitely, it's a significant holiday, and it's funny because my mom and I, we had dinner and hung out, watched basketball, and it was great. She made an apple pie. She made two, actually. She just was like, why
One for
not?
you, one for her.
Kind of, yeah. There's like an apple pie in my freezer right now where I'm like, I don't even know when I'm gonna eat this. But unrelated to that, on the Airbnb tip, earlier in the week, somebody who wanted to book the house for 2023. God, that sounds weird to even say out
It
loud.
does. It does. Sounds so futuristic. It's
It
like,
really does. Yeah, like something about 2023 sounds like way
well, I
in the
think
future.
a lot of, just a little sidebar, I think a lot of the sci-fi movies we grew up with, it was like that was the year that was like so far into the future that they took place in. And you were like,
Right.
whoa, 2023.
Yeah, like what's that gonna be like? Yeah,
And
well,
here we are.
we're gonna find out if we stay alive, Heather. Anyway, so they want to book next year. It was sort of a big family, kind of wedding gathering, blah blah blah, and they don't live very far away from here, and they said, I hate to ask, but could we tour the property? We just, we're trying to figure out what's going to be best for everybody. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't love that, right? You kind of just like book it or you don't. Like look at the photos,
Yeah.
read the description, figure it out. But this is so far in the future, and sure, I'm happy to help. So we kind of went back and forth like what would be the best day. It was going to be yesterday, which was Sunday, which was Mother's Day, and I had said a few days before, sure, yeah, that's fine, just let me know, because I have other things to do. And they kind of forgot to get back to me and said, oh gosh, sorry, is Sunday still gonna be okay? And I was like, it's Mother's Day, I'm kind of on the hook, and if possible, could we do this at a later time? We're still pretty far in advance. And the woman, I assume it was the woman, I don't know, it's a married couple, she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I am so yes, of course. I hope you have a wonderful Mother's Day. And it was funny because I realized that she thought that I was somebody's mother. Like I could tell, by the
Did
way
she call
that
you
she was.
ma'am?
No, but she was sort of like, oh, I want you to have like the best Mother's Day, where I'm like, well, it's not really my day.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a dog and cat mother, but I'm
Yeah.
not a mother. But it still is something, that it means something to me. And it was just kind of funny because, I mean, we're not spring chickens, Heather, and
We aren't?
I know. Sorry to
news to
break it to
me.
you.
Speak for yourself.
Sorry to break it to you. But I could very easily be, I could have 100 children at this point, but I don't have any. And it got, it's kind of funny for me to be like, oh wow, she like thought I was a mom, but that's not weird to think because
No.
I could very much like we don't know each other.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of a perception thing,
Yeah, it's easy to be presumptuous. Like, yeah, you create these little like scenarios that you think people are thinking or doing, and that's like you create your own like fantasy bubble,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was it's just I mean, it didn't ruin my day or anything. I was just like, oh, yeah, whatever.
Well,
I'll
it's kind
see
of
you next
funny, like,
Wednesday.
the when you mention the married couple on like Airbnb, I find that to be a somewhat confusing configuration when I'm, trying to book people because like a lot of times I'll get a note from like the wife, but then the dad would follow up and I don't really know how to like call them. So like, do you go,
You're right.
hi,
Yeah. Yeah.
Joe, or I mean, whatever it is their names are. And it gets a little confusing. It's like it's just interesting to me. I guess it makes sense to have, if you're a married couple and you travel together, that you have your joint account.
I do get on Airbnb specifically, I get requests all the time from, so and so and so and so. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And you don't really you don't get a lot of information about somebody before they book until after they book, and then it's like, here's where they live, here's their
Yeah.
cell phone number in an emergency, whatever. So that person always becomes like the default, like, okay, I'm talking to you,
Yes,
you
exactly.
know. But you don't always know at first,
No,
and
you don't. You
that's
don't.
fine.
And
It's
again,
for the
you have
most
to
part.
presume, you have to make your best guess and
Yeah.
call it a day. Speaking of Mother's Day, Sarah, and speaking of not being spring chickens anymore, we have a lot of history now. We have a lot of time behind us, a lot of memories, and I've kind of waltzed through life like celebrating. I'm a celebrator. I feel like I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky person.
You love a celebration, Heather. I'll give it to you.
I sure
Yep, you
do.
do.
I really do. And, all the Hallmark holidays, I would just enjoy with glee, like never thinking that anything would change, just like, yeah, it's a great excuse to have some fun with somebody. And so, yeah, Mother's Day was yesterday. A lot of people were kind of, well, yeah, what are you doing this weekend? Because, my mom passed last year. So it was like my first Mother's Day without her. And I didn't really think about it honestly very much. I just was like, it's Sunday. I'll do my Sunday thing. It was supposed to rain, so I kind of planned a day at the house to do a bunch of different projects. And
Yeah.
I kind of woke up with a positive attitude, like I do, and like I'm gonna have such a good day, for example. And
Yeah.
it is kind of about attitude. If you don't make it a big deal, you really can control the way where your mind goes, then it's not a big deal. But if you kind of start thinking too much about it and then it just becomes this big deal and it's like
Yeah.
you create this
Yeah.
big deal.
It becomes this I don't know, like it has a life of its
It
own
has a
where you're
life of
just
its own
like,
is a great way of putting
now
it.
now I'm upset.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I didn't make it a big deal. Like I had my plan, even though I probably should have left the house, but it was really stormy. It was like my boyfriend was like, why don't you go to the beach or something? I'm like, dude, it's like hailing. I'm like, I don't know. I
I
guess I
don't
could put
want
a
to.
rain slicker on and go out there. But
Just sit out there and just be like, here I am.
yeah, and I wanted to stay home. It was a really nice day to just chill, and I don't do that very often. Like we talk about, I wanted to catch up on my show. I still haven't finished part 2 of Ozark, and I'm really like I'm engrossed in it, and I just was like, I want to finish that, which I didn't. I had a lot of other stuff that I was doing, and so it just wasn't a big deal. And I got, a few friends called in the morning and, had some good chats. And then you and I chatted throughout the day, which was awesome. And I got a sweet message from one of our Discorders, you know who you are. And, we talked about the Mother's Day thing. We also talked about like Ted Lasso biscuits and all was good. All was good in the hood, it started off strong.
Yeah.
But it was like throughout the day, I just kept getting, it was like the first time ever. The whole Hallmark holiday, it was like, the script was flipped for me. It never really phased me before because it was the same every year. It was like, send my mom flowers, send her a card, or whatever the holiday is. I'm not just talking about Mother's Day. But for the first time ever, I was like irked by all the like peppy mom day email marketing things, even from like
Yeah.
brands that I love. It was incessant. It was like every few hours, it was like encouraging me to buy a last minute gift for mom. 10% off, 20% off, 30% off, time is running out. Like, and it was weird. It was like, it never phased me before, but yesterday it felt kind of cruel.
Well, I mean, it didn't phase you before because,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
could have been like, oh, this would be a nice gift for mom.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't, but my point is, I guess, is that from my life experience, my extensive life experience, it's been pretty happy. And, I've been just chugging along. But it really, when you get hit with something like this, it really makes you think about all of the holidays in the calendar and how they come off as cruel for some people.
Yeah.
I mean, there's these landmines that you build as you get older, anniversaries of someone that died in your family. You've got birthdays, you've got Mother's Day, Father's Day. Like, there's all kinds of days out there that cause people more panic and sadness than happiness. And so I just thought it was sort of interesting. Like, I know that marketing doesn't
Yeah.
care about that. They don't care about your feelings and whatever. But, people who've lost people, it just seems insensitive and so polar opposite to like the happy Hallmark thing.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because everything really is about perception and attitude and all the things. But how we're always talking about how fast the days go by. And it's like, I'm trying to like hold on to the day. So it's just a little bit longer, I'm trying to really relish, this day. But then I'm like, I wake up again, it's another day, and it just starts to go fast when you get older.
It does.
But
Yeah.
yesterday felt long. It felt like it was like at a crawl, It was just interesting how it's all in your head. I mean, it's all like you're kind of fabricating this, but it's interesting how the perception of time changes like
Yeah.
that.
I can relate. My father died in 2004, so it's quite some time ago. But I've kind of gone past this. At this point, even though I have moments of sadness, of course, but for a couple of years after that, in 2004, it was like, I don't know, email was a little bit different. Maybe
Yeah,
you were getting, fewer kind of
it was different.
but so it wasn't, I didn't feel
It wasn't
bombarded.
as heavy handed. I feel like it's like
Yeah,
very,
well, of course,
yeah,
because, there's just a lot of companies that want to sell
yeah,
you things. But it did bother me. It bothered me a lot.
it did.
And yeah, it did. I felt like personally attacked.
Yeah, totally.
Like, why are you like, you should know that this is very inappropriate, kind of thing. Do not try to like talk to me about Father's Day.
Yeah.
And of course, eventually I realized that that's sort of a losing game. So,
Yeah.
but I know the feeling, that feeling of just kind of being like, this is not gonna be my favorite day.
No.
And I just kind of want to get through it and do my thing and have fun, like you said that you were trying to do on Mother's Day, and just kind of like not talk about it the whole
Yeah.
time. What's weird is, so one of my cousins, my cousin Kelly, she doesn't listen to the show, but hi Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
She her mother died before my dad died, quite suddenly. It was really just a sort of a tragic thing. And I yesterday she had texted me something. She lives in LA and texted me a funny photo or whatever, and I was like, "Hey, how you doing today?" I don't think I've ever once asked you how you feel about Mother's Day, and she was like, not great, but
Yeah.
whatever. And we didn't belabor the point too much, but I if you're out there and you may totally understand what Heather and I are talking about, or maybe you don't, but it's kind of just good to remember things like that
It
sometimes,
is.
that
It
that
is. And
people have tough times for a variety of reasons, and sometimes it's a pretty big reason.
yeah, and it's hard because you feel very isolated in a lot of ways because you know that a lot of other people in your life are celebrating the day, and you kind of can't get yourself to be peppy about it, like even though you should be peppy for other people kind of thing. And usually I'm pretty good about like reaching out, checking in, and then but you kind of have to realize too that people are very consumed with their lives, and it's not that they don't care, because they do, but it may not cross their minds because they've got all of
Their
their
own
life
worries.
stuff and their own
Yeah.
worries. And so And you can easily fall down a rabbit hole, like thinking that people don't care. And, I feel like an extremely lucky person. And I'm not, I'm not talking about this to really, I don't want anybody to feel sympathy or whatever. I'm a strong, a strong person,
You're a
but
strong, independent woman,
I
is what you
am. I'm
are.
a queen, and I just, it's just, I'm trying to be better about talking about things on the show that are, it's we're talking about personal stuff, and we know it resonates with you guys, and we want, these things to be relatable. We want to be relatable, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that I think sometimes is really good to talk about. So yeah,
Yeah.
if you guys have, I'd love to hear about your Mother's Day, and they can be positive, please. Like I won't be upset if you send us an email that talks about how wonderful your Mother's Day was. Please, I have such a
Yes.
good day.com.
We, yes,
Please email us and let us know how it went for you.
good stories, bad stories, we'll take them.
Exactly. Yep.
We will take them. All right.
No
So,
discrimination.
absolutely not. Listen, you could be having a great day, or you could be having not such a good day, and that's fine. We still want, yeah.
We're not going to title our show "Have Not Such a Great Day,"
Have
but
such a good day.
that's part of it too.
Yeah, we're it's inspirational for us as well.
It
Because
is. It is
not every day
indeed.
is such a good day. But yeah, we're doing our best. So Heather, I'm very excited to talk to you about this next thing because there are a lot of pop culture things that I'm pretty in tune to. I
You
know
are.
who the celebrities are, and I watch my shows and all the things. But there are things that I totally miss out on, and one of those things is Tom Holland. So if you're laughing right now, you're like, oh my God, Sarah. I mean, Tom Holland, like, he's Spider-Man, dating Zendaya, like, calm down. And what's funny is that so when I do DTNS, Daily Tech News Show, one of my other podcasts, I am always the person who's like the least informed about like superhero movies
Yeah.
or the cinematic universe, like all the things. I kind of try to keep up, but I don't. It's just not my bag. Action movies, I tend to kind of just be like, ooh, nap time. So I don't really know who everybody is, and somewhat recently, I don't know, within the last year, somebody had mentioned Tom Holland, and I was like, I don't know who that is, and they were like, you don't know who Tom Holland is? I'm like, no, I don't. Who is it? Oh, Spider-Man. He's the new Spider-Man. Like, I thought that was that other guy. Like, I don't know. I can't keep up. There's so many Batmans too.
Totally. So many. Ugh.
I just don't know.
It's out of
So,
control.
so this morning, like at like 7 a.m., when I'm like, getting on the computer, trying to, read tech news and stuff, one of my friends sends this apparently 5-year-old clip of a show called Lip Sync Battle.
Oh no. I
Yeah,
remember
so
that.
like I don't. I
Yeah.
mean, Heather,
I totally remember that.
I mean, I
You
am
love the
I,
reality shows.
I love the
You
reality.
live and
I don't really,
breathe the reality shows.
I don't really like music or food reality shows. That's kind of the weird thing is like, I don't listen or I don't watch The Voice or American Idol or and I just it's never really been my thing. So this is something I completely missed. So apparently 5 years ago, Tom Holland did a rendition of Rihanna's Umbrella
Oh,
on Lip Sync
God.
Battle. And I watched the clip and I was like, who the fuck is this? Oh my
Okay,
God.
you gotta send this to me.
I will. I will.
I'm
As
in the
soon as we
dark,
get-
Sarah.
As soon as you'll love it. I watched it like 7 times in a row, and I was like, okay, you need to like do other things this morning. It's look alive. But I mean, I was like, and he was just like, and so anyway,
What was so funny about it?
it wasn't funny. It was good.
Okay.
Like he was just like he was.
He's
I mean,
grooving.
yeah, and a lot of dancing. There was rain. It's in a studio, whatever. And I say to my friend, I was like, I don't even know what this is. Like, what am I even watching? Like, this is amazing. And he was like, how do you not, like, how have you, really, Sarah? Like, you don't know who Tom Holland is, and you never heard of Lip Sync Battle? Like, it was a really popular show. I'm like, no, I haven't. Not once. But I like it.
I
So
definitely remember
now,
that show, actually. I think we were
I don't know
still in
where I'm,
LA. Yeah.
oh, really? Yeah. Well, I mean, we
Maybe
must
you
have
just
been. It was
forgot
five
about
years
it.
ago.
Anyway.
But anyway, I was like, okay, let's go down the rabbit hole of Tom Holland. And I now know a lot about him. I mean,
Do
mostly
tell.
Wikipedia and just there's nothing. I mean, he's just like an extremely talented person who happens to be dating another extremely talented person. So everybody's like, ooh, power couple.
And
And
she's
they're
way
so
taller than him.
she's taller than him. I
Yeah.
mean, she definitely is taller than him, and I guess that's I don't know, whatever, who cares?
Yeah.
Love is love. And they're just so much younger than me. Like, even Euphoria, when I mentioned Zendaya, that's kind of her most recent vehicle. She's it's like these are like show kids. They've been doing show business for a long time. And I think that I miss out on a lot of this stuff because I'm just not trying to be obsessed with like somebody 20 years younger than me kind of thing.
Sure, of course.
But I'm really into Tom Holland now. So anyway, let the record state that if he ever wants to have dinner, I will pay.
Well, what kind of, I mean, any kind of restaurant, like a 5-star kind of thing?
All the things. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all the things.
Whatever you want, Tom. You,
Well,
want to
okay.
do a little Michelin restaurant situation? I'll pick it up. I'll pick it up for you.
Well, hopefully he's listening. Hey, Tom, if you
Yes.
are,
And I'm sure he is. Hi, Tom.
we're big fans.
Yeah.
We're big new fans, but that's okay, right? I mean,
Just-
we're
sometimes
jumping on the bandwagon.
I just have to laugh. Sometimes I'm like, how long have I been out?
But it's
Was I
funny.
unconscious?
As my boyfriend always says, he goes, because I always go, I can't believe I haven't seen that movie. Like some kind of classic, I still haven't seen The Revenant, which is, I know. A lot of people were like, I can't believe you haven't seen that. You're going to love that.
The Leo DiCaprio movie?
Yes.
Hated that movie.
Oh.
Ugh, horrible. Don't even watch it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's maybe not a good example.
That's just me. But
Yeah.
no, just wasn't a fan.
But my boyfriend's always like, you can't watch everything. You just can't. And he says it so matter of fact, like, it's cool, dude. You can't. You cannot keep track of everything. And I'm not very familiar with Tom Holland. I'm fairly familiar with Zendaya. And I think that, as we get older, we have to make room for other things in our brain, which is why certain things like lip sync battle slip our memories.
Yes.
It is what it is. And I feel the same way. I mean, I go down lots of IMDb rabbit holes, lots. I'm very fascinated by people's backgrounds, and I'll get like really obsessed with a certain somebody like Robert Eggers, the director of The Northman, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. But Sarah, I
Yes.
digress. I want to talk about a little something about living where I live, and some good, some bad. It's all a mixed bag. But I came home from my last trip to a sparkling clean house, flowers in vases everywhere, happy animals, landscaped and mowed yard. I kind of felt like low key royalty. It was pretty amazing. And I have a woman, a friend, her name is Teresa, and everybody should have one. She is a lovely human on so many levels. And she's also my gardener. And she also takes care of our animals when we leave. And she's just that person who everybody needs one. Everyone needs a Teresa. And, I came home to, such a taken care of house, and it was so lovely. And she's one of my main people on payroll. She does a lot of different things. She's kind of a Swiss Army knife. She's pretty tough. Like, she doesn't just do the landscaping. She does all kinds of things. Like when we have any rat problems, she goes under the house, and she'll put the traps down, because I mean, I don't want to do that. She does a lot of dirty work that I don't want to do, and I'm so grateful for her. But when it comes to running the biz, running the actual business of this estate, it's a fairly large estate. We
Mm-hmm.
have a bunch of commercial slash retail and residential properties, and they all need work. Okay, so it's not just like turning over for a new tenant and you have to like fix the apartment and you have to clean it. I mean, there's all these stages. But then when, most of our places are pretty booked, sometimes someone will leave an office and then we fill it and whatever, but we're pretty maxed out. I mean, there's a housing shortage, blah, blah, blah. But you need to keep up the property. You need to keep up the land. So obviously, we have somebody that goes around, we call it the rounds, where somebody like picks up garbage because, people will dump their garbage, or there's just things that you have to make sure that things are looking okay for the tenants, right? And you need to do some landscaping. You need to, clean up the crack weeds, which are weeds that kind of come out of the sidewalk, and just, you have to go out probably once a week, to do some weed whacking, some mowing, whatever it is that the property needs. And it's been really challenging to get enough people who can do all these things. We're in a somewhat remote area. We've got problems as we have supply chain problems, we have a hard time finding contractors. And I know people in big cities are having a hard time too. There's a lot of reasons why contractors have dropped out. People have changed jobs. There's less kind of skilled workers in certain areas. And in this business, you need some like sort of Swiss Army knife people that can do all the things, like little things. They can fix a pipe. They can fix, spackle, some walls, clean windows, whatever. And then you need people who are more specialists, people who know a lot about one particular thing. And so it's been a very challenging thing trying to find people. I have a handful of good people on my staff, including Teresa and a couple sort of my main workmen. But it's such an interesting switch for me because I come from a very busy, stressful industry as a producer. People worked their tails off. I worked my tail off. You don't stop working until the show is ready for air, and you're
Yep.
working into the evening, you're working early in the morning. Sometimes you just don't stop, it just depends on what kind of production project you're on. And I think when I was younger, I loved it. It was exciting. You had to be quick on your toes. I actually got high off the stress of it, kind of.
Yep.
And
Yep.
now,
I know the feeling.
yeah, after all these years, it's good and bad. It's like sometimes the stress was a lot. I remember doing this music video shoot that it never ended. I felt like I had to literally work like throughout the night into the next day to get everything done. There was just not enough time in the day. And now I'm the lucky gal that I am running this business because I don't have to work like a dog, which is really nice. I mean, who really wants to work like a dog? But on the flip side, I actually kind of miss that, I don't know, where everything is just kind of buttoned up and you've got people working really, really hard around the clock for you. I'm living on an island. No joke. I mean, this place has been referred to as island life by lots and lots of people that I've met who are familiar with the area, who live here. It is like I say, we've got these monsoons. It's very jungly. And there's days when it's humid where it really feels like I am on an island, like I'm on
I mean,
on a Hawaiian
yeah,
island.
sounds like Hawaii. I was about
It
to
really
say.
does in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. And it's a rainforest. I mean, it really is. It's technically a rainforest. Anyway, my point is that living on a so-called island, we're not actually on an island. We're on the California like landmass, but we're right on the edge of the cliff of the ocean. So people here kind of have this island attitude. And, I've been to Hawaii a lot. I've been to Costa Rica. I've been to a lot of island type communities. And I know what it's like. And I always appreciate it, especially when you're on vacation where, it's great in theory, when you're chilling and you don't have to work. And a place, normally that would open at 9 just might open at 11 or might close at 2 to do a siesta. And I love that. I mean, you go to Europe and you kind of have that experience too. But when you're running a business, it's challenging. And
Yeah.
you've got people who don't want to work 40 hours a week. You have people who, but the thing is, I totally respect that. So you really have to, I have to really come down a notch and be like, okay, I have to kind of lean into this island attitude. You know, people are on Humboldt time up here. It's just this whole thing. And I'm not blaming it all on people who smoke pot. That's like kind of a funny.
Yes, I don't think anybody thought you were.
Well, I mentioned it at the top of the show that, yeah, sure, like you've got that kind of surfer stoner attitude that often can be
Yeah.
associated with like island living. And
Right. And just sort of like, I'll get to it when I get to it. Type thing.
exactly, that is totally the attitude. So it's, I mean, I'm up for the challenge, but I appreciate that life has brought me a totally new challenge because I think I was always pretty good at my job being a producer, and I miss it sometimes. I mean, I still do some producing on some level, but man, wow, I'm just grateful that I'm learning some new things.
Well, and it's and like new cadences.
Yes,
right.
exactly.
Just kind of like, okay, I don't, because I am very much like you. I mean, you and I worked together for so many years. It's like we know, you know, that sort of the momentum of
Sure.
And you know, a lot of my life is still based around like I do live shows. You know, I things have to happen at a very specific time.
Yes.
If they don't happen at a
You're
specific
under the
time,
gun a lot.
yeah, and that can be stressful, but it also it helps me stay on course.
Totally.
You know,
I prefer it,
I
actually.
do kind of, and like even in college, probably high school. I mean, I don't remember high school as much, but like I would, you know, procrastinate and then have to do something at the very last minute, and I'd be stressed out, but like I'd make it work.
I'd do better
And-
work. I would totally
Yeah.
do better work when I would do it
because
the last minute.
yeah, like under duress,
Yes.
kind of a thing. It's like it's kind of masochistic, really.
It
But,
really is.
But yeah, that I mean, I do that with all sorts of things,
Yep.
but particularly work now. But I know what you mean about just kind of being like, okay, there's another rhythm going on here, and I can step back a tiny bit and figure out everybody else's rhythm because we're all trying to, you know, achieve the same goal as
Yep.
long as you like the people that you're working with, of course.
Of course.
And
That's
and then
huge.
you kind of go from there. But yeah, it's like I have been, I mean, so many times like accused of, you know, where people are like, "Whoa, Sarah, coming in very hot right now."
Yeah.
Where I'm like, "We have things to do, though. We have things to do. Let's walk fast."
Such a producer.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. I guess that's all there is to say about that.
Not much more.
Hey, listen, y'all. We love that you're part of our audience. We love doing the show. This is, you know, one of my favorite hours of the week. And I'm sure Heather feels the same, although I don't want to speak for you.
I do.
Whatever.
I do.
But if you'd like to become a patron of our show, directly support us, we would love to have you. Patreon.com/have such a good day is where you can find out more about that. You can join our Discord if you've got $5 that you can part with per month or anything more. You can join our Discord. Certainly not mandatory, but we love to chat with our folks and just kind of learn more about what everybody else is doing, where they live, what their lives are like. You know, let's see some photos if you feel like sharing, or you could lurk. Either way,
Yeah.
all good. But thank you in advance. If that's something that you can do, we'd love to have you. The show is always free for everybody else, but patrons, you know, get a variety of perks, and we're kind of kicking around the idea of like, let's revisit, you know, let's figure out some like cool new perks for patrons. Heather and I haven't done that in some time, as we chug along, but it's always nice as the weather
Shake
gets
things up.
warmer. Yeah, shake it up. Let's do a little, you know, let's have a sexy summer, everybody.
Help us have a sexy summer, y'all. Hey, and how do we do that? Do you guys have any ideas? Do you think about things every week that you wish that we'd talk about or do? We used to do games. Remember those, Sarah? I had a flashback from sitting on my patio in LA
just sort
doing a
of-
game, laughing my tail off.
We forgot. We like just sort of were like we had all these like challenges for each other, and then
Uh-huh.
we just like wouldn't do them.
They fell by the wayside, as
I
things
know.
do, as things do.
Oh well, you know what? Like Elijah says, you can't do it all.
You can't watch all the movies. You
You
can't
can't
listen to
watch
all
all the
the, you
movies.
can't keep up with all the pop culture, Sarah, even if
What you,
you try.
what you can do is Wordle every morning,
Oh,
which
oh
Heather and I do
yeah.
religiously. It's the first thing I do.
Yeah.
You know, I put in my contacts or I put my glasses on, I make my coffee, and I do my Wordle.
Because you got to
And that's what
see
I
to
do.
play Wordle.
Yes, you
You
do
got to
need to
use your
see.
eyeballs.
Yeah, it is definitely something you need to be able to use your eyes for. Although if you happen to be vision impaired
Yeah.
and you're listening to the show and you've got a good situation going on for like
Games.
yeah, puzzle games,
Yeah.
then let us know.
I'd be so
Because that
curious.
I yeah, me too.
You know, it's funny. We talked about this actually pre-show. It's not recorded, but thank God. But it was on along the lines of like sometimes you wake up kind of perky and ready to start the day, and then other days you're like, coffee. And most days, when I finally realize within the first few minutes that I get to play Wordle, I mean, what was life like before Wordle? Like I know it's only a few seconds of my day, sometimes minutes, maybe.
What do you mean seconds, Heather? I
Well,
mean,
this
you're
morning I did it in
probably
a few
playing Wordle
seconds.
for like at least 1 minute.
Okay, maybe a minute. This morning I
Like
did pretty good. It was pretty quick, but sometimes I wish it was longer, even though I want to get a good score, but like, and I don't really need it to be more challenging. But I guess I'm competitive with myself more than anybody, and I'm on a real like kind of a tear with just games, with just word games and puzzle games. Like I'm, really into the New York Times crossword, as you know. And in fact, I've been sort of ignoring my words with friends because it's words with friends can kind of become rote. I don't know. It's just like the same thing over and over. But, the crossword changes every day. It gets progressively harder as the week goes along. And I can finish Mondays, I can finish Tuesdays. In fact, they time you. And now I'm kind of like, I never cared about the timing. Like, I don't really care how long it takes me. I will do it over the course of several days. I don't give a shit about that. But lately I'm like, there's a daily mini that's really fun. It's a mini crossword that New York Times puts out. And it's so fun. And I look forward to that as much as I look forward to Wordle. It's the first thing I do in the morning, those two games. And I did this morning's mini in like 35 seconds or something. It was like so fast. And I was like, wow, like I can tell literally like because I've kind of cranked it up, like I've cranked up the amount of puzzles I do every day. I can totally tell I'm getting better. Like, I mean, very quickly, this is a great way to keep your mind active. Even when you don't really feel like reading or doing anything constructive, playing like a quick little word game, I think really kind of gets me in the mood to work or do, solve problems or whatever. But I also wanted to mention Discord. Sarah mentioned Discord earlier, and that anything goes. You can lurk, you can participate, you can show us a little bit of your life. And this weekend, one of our patrons, Leah, had a birthday, and she
Happy birthday,
chose to
Leah!
go hang out with some alpacas, and it is the cutest picture. I mean, I am so jealous. I want to know where that is right away. I'm booking a plane ticket because she's like touching them. They're like riding
I
them.
mean,
Like, what? Why didn't I do this on Mother's Day? This would have been a perfect Mother's Day activity.
there's some alpacas around here. I mean, I don't know them personally. I've never ridden one, but yeah, they're around, Heather.
All
This
right,
is
I'm adding
something you
that to
can.
my bucket
This
list.
is yeah. This is the thing you can do. You can achieve this. You
Thanks, Sarah.
can do it.
Thanks for believing in me. I know that we talked about this in, I don't know, a past episode, but fairly recent, about pushing content on people where you're like, you have to watch this movie. It's so good. And again, that kind of thing is very subjective. Just because you really love it doesn't mean another person's going to love it, even though you know their tastes really well or whatever. But I've mentioned to you that, and I know a lot of our viewers, or a handful of our viewers, I know that Jake is very into, he's one of our patrons, into these types of movies. And it's a movie that just came out by this director that I love called The Northman. You may have seen his previous movie, The Witch, or The Lighthouse. He's kind of a visionary director. He's very he's done a lot of things on a small budget. He has a very particular eye, and he's very unique. And The Northman was like a really big budget. It was like his first really big budget studio movie, and I'm just kind of fascinated again about the path that this person took to create this. And this is definitely, there are directors out there, and then there are directors who are born with a vision that they could only have, that nobody else would have. A lot of stuff is derivative out there these days, especially with all these remakes and sequels and prequels and all this stuff. It just is all kind of this regurgitated stuff. And I just love when something like this comes out. And even though if I were to compare it to something and kind of give you a nutshell of like what it is like, I would say, and I hate doing this, but I will say it's kind of a mashup of like a really violent Game of Thrones episode, in addition to like having some of the kind of Game of Thrones type mythical fantasy elements and creatures, kind of has that like, there's a world beyond reality that you are, it's revealed to you. And it's kind of scary, but like I would say the genre of the movie is quite a few genres. It's it's thriller, it's kind of horror, but it's action, it's history. This is all about the Vikings. And apparently the director is, he's really, really, really into being factual. So like he goes to great lengths to create these very factual historical movies. He does so much research. He works with all the like best, minds in the world and everything. It's a very fascinating thing. Sarah, I think you'll really enjoy it. There are, tidbits of these, it's dark and weird, but like not in the Midsommar way that you wouldn't like. It definitely, and I was always surprised
I
you
love
loved
that movie.
I was always surprised you loved Game of Thrones because how much you didn't like kind of scary stuff, and I found Game of Thrones to have this.
Game of Thrones was not scary to me. And in fact, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess there were certain moments, but it definitely was. I mean, I was so into Game of Thrones, and I don't really like action
Yeah.
things. And a lot of it is like, okay, we're gonna have a battle for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, you got 15 minutes. Like everyone's just gonna be fighting for a while and like no dialogue. And normally I don't like stuff like that, but every so often it hits me the right way, and I do enjoy it.
And this is not like a lengthy battle type of movie. It's like it's kind of hard to explain. It's not like anything you've ever seen before. But in that terms of the mashup, I would say it's kind of got this Game of Thrones vibe, but like there's a little like maybe a little Lord of the Rings in terms of that mythical character sort of thing again. And
Which is, I mean, I liked, I mean, I was a big fan of that too. I guess there's a certain element of fantasy where I'm like, okay, I'm in.
it's only a bit, and it's there's like the berserkers. Yeah, a lot of just like there's like true historical facts, but also meshed with like, some, total fantasy. But yeah, Nicole Kidman in particular has a scene, and I won't, no spoilers, but
Yeah, don't spoil it,
I'm
Heather.
not, but I'm just saying it will blow you out of your seat. It's you got to watch this, Sarah. I got to hear what you think.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I Heather talked to me about this
Do
over the
it!
weekend, and I was like, it's always funny when when you're like excited about something and you're like, oh, you have to see this, right?
Yeah,
like
and we have to talk about
it's
it.
like my Forrest Gump story from
Yeah.
a recent episode where I'm like, okay, I'll get to it,
Yeah.
maybe or not. Like life goes on, guys. But
This one's important though. I'm
Yeah,
not going to
okay.
force feed you something that
No,
this is an important one.
I believe you and I have enough. We've
Enough
been to
history.
a lot of movies together.
Yes.
We're all good.
Yeah, and it's funny because yesterday, this was over the weekend. This was on Saturday when we went and saw it in the theater, and I'm still like so lukewarm about going to the theater. It's like I get excited kind of because we have this like little artsy theater. It has really good popcorn. You can have as much nutritional yeast on it as you want. and they have great
It's my
snacks. Like it's like kind of
favorite.
hippie. Yeah, it's awesome. And but there's just a couple things. Like there's so many distractions, and I think because we're so desensitized because of COVID and just like watching movies at home, and like I go out into the world and I'm sitting with all these strangers, snacking on their popcorn, and people coming and going, like literally like every minute someone was leaving and the light came out from the hallway. They were using the bathroom and we were like right
You're
by the
right.
door. And like it's like it was fine. I wasn't annoyed. It was just like
I bet you were annoyed.
I was slightly, here's what I was annoyed with, okay? Here's what I was annoyed with. There was okay, this movie is dark, okay? It's violent, it's scary. A family came in, two parents and two kids that couldn't have been older than 5. And they went into the front row, and I was so like shocked. I was like, really?
Yeah, like, why are you guys here?
Like this is going to scar your children for life. Like, I mean, there were some scenes where I was like, I kept thinking about it throughout the movie. It was almost distracting. I was like, oh my God, how are they watching this movie? Like, this is so scary. Like, I was even kind of scared at a couple of scenes. Like, not as like a horror movie, like I said, because I know you don't like horror, but more in the kind of Game of Thrones kind of horror, scary stuff. But I was like, wow, like what, maybe my boyfriend was joking about stuff. He said something like, well, they really liked Reservoir Dogs, so, let's try them out with this movie, or, made a bunch of other jokes like, like the latest superhero movie was sold out, so they like just went to this movie and, thought it looked fun or whatever.
I've always, every time I go to like an R-rated movie, which I have not been to a movie theater since COVID.
Yeah.
And I would love to return at some point soon, but it just hasn't happened yet. We're not quite ready for that yet over in the Lane household. Always there would always be some people who wander in and you're like, are you in the right theater? Like, I don't think you want to watch this.
Yeah, that was how I
and
felt.
not even scary, but sometimes just like very adult themed things.
Yeah, I was actually
where it's like the kids should not be in here.
No, I was like slightly like I wanted to say something, like wag my finger, like what are you doing? Like this is no, seriously.
But
like,
I mean, I think sometimes though people are just like, I don't know, The Northman. Let's go see that.
Yeah.
We just want to go to a show.
they didn't leave.
And-
They stayed through the whole thing.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. The kids probably have good stories about it.
Yeah.
I am.
Scarred for life.
I'm reminded of like back in the day when I was not 18 or 17, I guess is for R-rated movies. Yeah, 17 and up. And it was actually sometimes like you had to like be like have a parent buy the tickets for you,
Yeah.
or take you.
Oh, yeah.
But like we were like old enough to drive,
Mm-hmm.
but we weren't old enough to like see like a certain movie. And whenever Boys in the Hood came out, me and like 5 of my friends were like, we're going to see this like opening night. It's a very big deal. So so excited. And one of my friends' moms, because our town didn't have a movie theater, so you had to like drive into the next city, and that's where you saw the movie. It wasn't like that hard to do, but it was a bit of a rigmarole.
Yeah.
And my friend's mom, like at the last minute, like drove us into the next town and was just like, you know what? I've changed my mind. I don't want you guys to see this movie. I'm not going to buy you the tickets. We were like, what? F you. Like, come on. Like, this is like, we're already here. And it was like this whole thing where like, somehow we like, and this is, I mean, I don't know what even year that was, like 1990 or it was pre-cell phone days. So it was like there must have been one of us who like got on the phone at a payphone, and someone else's mom like drove in and bought us the tickets, like saved the day. We saw the movie. It all worked out. But it was such a big deal. Like,
Oh, yeah,
oh my
totally.
God, how are we gonna get in here? Like, I guess they were like IDing us. I don't even know.
Wow. Yeah, I vaguely remember those days. It's funny, it's as much as being an adult can be such a slog, it's nice to have your freedom to do whatever the heck you want. Sarah Lane.
To do whatever you want. That is a song. I don't really know which one, but all right. So listen, we're gonna wrap this show up before it gets too weird. But thanks everybody for listening and hanging with us. Hope you're having such a good day. Hope you have such a great week. And we'll do it all again. We'll do it all again in a week. So until then, I will remain Sarah.
And I will be Heather forever.
Have such a good day.
Bye.